Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. It's no secret the blatant anti-consumerism that takes place within the games industry. From rampant greed to tribalistic fanboyism to Sisyphean levels of cognitive dissonance, the likes of which haven't been seen anywhere else outside of works of fiction. It has gotten to the point that most other industries openly scoff at the games industry out of how utterly ridiculous it all is. In addition to that, the traditional games media has become every bit as disingenuous and corrupt as the large corporations that employ them, taking monetary or physical goods in trade for positive reviews or providing dishonest impressions of video games in order to appease their corporate masters. The traditional games journalist that exhibits any shred of journalistic integrity whatsoever seems to be fast becoming an endangered species. However, every once in a while you come across an article that proves that even a broken clock is right twice a day. In a Polygon article that was sent to me by multiple fans on Facebook, I discovered that sometimes an article is produced that actually makes one stop and think for a little while. The article in question was, "Valve is not your friend and Steam is not healthy for gaming. The illusion behind Good Guy Valve reputation" by Tim Caldwell. Now first off, I have no love for either Polygon or Valve. Polygon's articles are, for the most part, vacuously empty of substance, and I've never been one to trust any corporation no matter how they are perceived by the general public. However, in this particular instance, I have to tip my hat to Tim Caldwell. What he presented here was a fantastic look at Valve's blatant anti-consumerist actions over the years. Now, it's easy for us in our ADHD-fueled instant gratification world of digital goods and services to forget a great many things that these corporations do to pull the wool over our eyes, and it's good to take a step back and take a look at that corporation's actions from a longer view. Unfortunately for us, in the case of Valve, it does very much paint the picture of a company that, while is seen by many to be the last bastion of the consumer-friendly megalithic corporations, is in fact one of the worst proponents of anti-consumer behavior over the past decade. But have they done enough bad to cause vilification or enough good to warrant consumer trust? Well, to answer either question, one must take a look at a lot of different factors, and as with everything, the actual answer is never so cut and dry. I won't go through the article in detail as it is exceptionally long, but I will link it in the description below. It is a fantastic and informative piece that sources its facts quite well and shows that Mr. Caldwell is very much an anomaly when it comes to journalism over at Polygon, at least in this instance, and his insightful article deserves both recognition and praise. The reason why I'm discussing this, in addition to the fact that more than one person messaged me about this specific article and asked for my opinion on it, is that I felt it extremely pertinent to maintain within the public awareness. With all of the changes Valve is making over the course of the next year, I have continued to eye Valve with wary skepticism over their intent behind their recent actions. Inviting Total Biscuit and Jim Sterling to speak with representatives of Valve at first glance felt like a fantastic pro-consumer move and could give a chance for two of the larger YouTubers out there whose focus is consumer-centric to really make a difference. In addition to that, the changes being made to the Steam trading card system and doing away with Steam Greenlight all seemed like very positive changes, as do the revamping of the curation system. And don't get me wrong, they actually can and will do some good. But I've seen countless times how Valve has been propped up as the harbingers of all that is good and right within the games industry when the truth is far from it. Valve's move to institute refunds on games at first glance seemed at the time to be highly pro-consumer and was a fantastic move for positive change within the games industry, except that Valve did not do so of their own accord. Due to legal pressures, Valve finally caved on providing refunds, but they spent far longer doing everything it could to actively avoid providing those refunds, even to go so far as to require an end-user license agreement to be signed by any users within the European Union, waiving their legal right to a refund. Even when Valve did institute refunds a full 2 years after EA's Origin system did, they did so in what equates to store credit, refunding your money back not to your account, but back into your Steam wallet, ensuring that the money had to be spent with Valve. Also, as a way of ensuring that, the Steam program offers no way for you to move funds from your Steam wallet back into your account. One other example of Valve's seeming benevolence bestowed upon gamers was in 2011 with the Steam Workshop, which allowed 3D artists to contribute to Dota 2, Team Fortress 2, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Valve also touted how the 3D artists could earn real money from their contributions, offering 25% of the profits to the designers. Wait, 25%? What an interesting number. I wonder where we've heard that before. But we're not here to talk about that. I think that particular topic has been done to death on my channel. Valve even proudly announced that they had paid out more than $57 million to Steam Workshop creators over the course of 4 years, which sounds fantastic, except when you take into account that the $57 million was only 25%, which means Valve's take for absolutely no effort on their part whatsoever was a little over $170 million. Also, it's worth noting that Valve has since slashed the percentages for those 3D artists to somewhere between 5 and 7%. Those are but two examples of a very common thread with Valve's actions that were originally lauded as fantastic moves that were wonderfully pro-consumer in nature, whereas in actuality they were merely either bending to legal pressures or investing a very small amount of effort in an exceptionally hands-off system that would allow them to generate millions of dollars for almost no expenditure in an exceptionally self-serving and avaricious system that continues to do little except line their own pockets while their consumers do all the work for them. And it is that sort of methodology and mindset that I can't help but see driving the decisions behind the recent changes to the Steam trading card system, Steam Direct, and the new curation system. The reason why Valve has decided to act is not out of their consumers' best interests, but out of their own. The issue with asset flippers has its own set of problems for consumers and independent developers alike, but they have a different set of problems for Valve. We've been made aware, somewhat indirectly by Valve, that these asset flippers are able to generate thousands of keys for their games without having to pay Valve a dime for them. As they are not being sold, Valve doesn't get their 30% cut off the sales. In addition to that, those free keys are sold off on the gray market for pennies, and the asset flippers themselves, along with other card farmers, make use of these keys to generate cards for gems in order to craft badges and card packs for other games, culminating in resources that can be sold on any number of websites for real-world money. It's a fantastic bit of money laundering that Valve earns nowhere near the amount of money they would make otherwise. The Steam Direct is a mere reworking of their algorithms in order to better entice gamers to purchase new games, and the revamping of the Steam Curators system is a way for Valve to invest virtually no effort whatsoever and have consumers and online personalities alike do their jobs for them. And all the while, there are thousands, if not millions, of people willing to kiss Valve's ring for their efforts. Valve is not the last bastion of benevolence and goodness within the maelstrom of corporate evils and excesses that so many believe. That much is demonstrably certain. But are they as bad or as evil as the AAA publishing companies? Well, bear in mind that the corporation that was labeled the worst company in America several years in a row, Electronic Arts, instituted refunds on their digital distribution platform a full 2 years before Valve did. In addition, when it comes to customer support, you would be hard-pressed to find an example where a consumer walked away unsatisfied with EA's Origin customer care. The exact opposite is true of Valve and their customer support. But Origin sells only EA games and has gained a reputation for being a buggy mess, whereas Steam garnered their very carefully structured image as being the little guy with a lot of charm. But Valve is not so little anymore. Our charming little company has grown up and is now one of those large corporate conglomerates that will spend literally millions of dollars in legal fees rather than provide something as simple as a refund system to their consumers. That is a fact. It has happened. And Valve will continue to do whatever they can to ensure their bottom line. Corporations are very much creatures of least resistance, taking whatever path costs them the least for the highest possible gain, and Valve is no different. By their own actions, they demonstrate that they are not our friend, but neither are they wholly evil or against the consumer. They are a business. They have done what they could to ensure as much profit as possible, and that includes a huge amount of PR, convincing their customers that the decisions they make are best for the consumer, all the while doing what they can to fill their coffers. That is the way of business. I don't think Valve needs to be vilified for that, but as with everything else, one should not look upon Lord Gaben as the savior of gaming, merely as a corporate executive who is doing his job. His job is to make Valve money, and he seems to be exceptionally good at it. Much the same as gaming critics and pundits do their best to look out for the consumer. Sometimes their end goals coincide, and other times they differ greatly. But much like the story of the scorpion and the frog, each of them will do what is in their nature. There is nothing inherently good or evil about it. At the end of the day, it's business. Much like it is business for me to ask you to like and share this video, and also to subscribe if you're new to the channel and are interested in discussions like these and game reviews as well. Links to all the things are in the description below, and while you're at it, if you have your own thoughts on this matter, do let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and thanks for watching.